There's so much difference between the idea of what we are and the reality of God that we cannot truly talk about both. We cannot truly talk about both. So satsang must be to come to God for God's sake. So if there is an idea that this is going to be self-serving in some way, and by self-serving I mean small s self, then we can forget about it. Not going to happen. But if you're willing to be self-sacrificing, then we are getting somewhere. The child called me yesterday from Chandigarh or somewhere. She said, sometimes I have peace, sometimes I don't have peace, sometimes I this and sometimes I that. So I said, I. Where is God in all of this? Where is God in all of this? So we cannot serve the non-existent me, at the same time serve the unperceivable reality of what we are. So like I was telling the friend the other day, either we have to love God so much that we're willing to give up on ourselves for God, or we have to hate the lie. We have to hate the lie so much that we are willing to give up on it fully. But to try and include the truths in our framework of lives, not going to happen. So, then what is this really about? If it is not so that I can become a better person, I can become a more peaceful person, I can... Are more windows open today? Put the AC on. No, you know. So, at least first we have to decide, I'm all in. Even if at times you waver. At times you may waver and say, no, but I'm still, whatever. But right now, are you all in or no? That is the main thing, because without that, anything I say after this is all nonsense. All in for God, no matter what the cost. Even if it feels like it's only for this moment and I keep oscillating, it's fine. But at least in this one. So that decision for God is very important. For God, for God's sake, for truth's sake. And having no expectations for what happens to me because of that. is the only way that there is a chance that the unknowable in the human condition can reveal itself to us. It is the unknowable and only found through grace. And grace is nothing that you can have anything to do with. You cannot say, oh, I will do this and then that and this and that, and therefore grace will come. Grace happens to us, within us, and not by us in any way. All we can try and do with no guarantee, and that is why faith is needed. No guarantee. You could be open to grace all your life, and still the truth may not reveal itself to you. There's no shying away from that. You have to be ready for that. God is under no obligation to reveal itself to you. But if we are sick of the lie, if we say we really want the truth, then we have to prepare for grace to arrive. So we have to prepare the feast independent of whether the guests will come or not. Are we ready to do that? And what is fertile territory for the guest to come? Surrender, open and empty, no expectations, no resistance. Because after this it is all round. It is all round. If you try to make sense of it, it's only going to get in your way. Just have to have an open heart. To build the faith which is needed for your freedom. It is an impossible thing in the human condition. Faith means that we must accept that which is completely unacceptable. Take that to be true, which cannot be known. Known through traditional means, through worldly means. That is faith. Otherwise, what is faith? Faith is not a half-hearted attempt to, yes, I'm open to Satsang, let's see what happens. That is not faith. Faith is that for this discovery, I'm willing to go as far as it is needed. Whatever is asked of me, I am willing to surrender all my attachments, all my desires, all my expectations about where life should go, and most importantly, everything that I think I'm right about. Everything that I think I'm right about. Let go of that. And then you have truly sent the invitation. That's all we've done then. Then we have truly sent the invitation. Because I may ask you then whether yourself is apparent to you. I may ask you then whether yourself is apparent to you. But all I can do is invite. Whether you accept the reality of yourself as that one which you cannot perceive. Whether you can accept the reality of that one which you cannot perceive but you know in your heart is your truth. That is up to faith, and faith only is a gift of grace. So can you accept this? Or is more negotiation, more doubt needed? You are that which is aware. You are that which is aware. You do not see yourself. You cannot think yourself. It is not even an experience that you are having that you can try and hold on to. Now the universes have collided between the knowable universe and the unknowable universe. It's collided, no? The instant you truly met the inquiry, you went beyond the realm of the knowing. That awareness, which has no shape, no color, no size, it's not a thing, it's not a person, is apparent to you. And yet it seemed like me sitting in this universe asked myself the question, am I aware? And I got the insight of something which is not in this world. Now, it is only grace. It is only your faith. That you can replace your worldly identity with this reality. The universes collided when I sat in front of Guruji. Because he did not show me anything in this universe. did not show me anything in this universe. He showed me my reality which is not to be found here. And because the mind could not make sense of it, the mind could either dissolve or to try and fight back even more. When faced with something which is beyond sensible, your mind can either shut up or fight back even more, saying, come from here, this is not whatever. Right? In this case, and it was pure grace, that the mind dissolved. Could I have controlled it sitting over there? Oh mind, please dissolve. No. Purely the working of grace. So, my job is to introduce you to the truth which is not sensible and to give you the opportunity for your mind to dissolve. Actually, every moment of our life is like that. But we have built up enough defenses in our mind for those. But what you introduced you to in Satsang, in the form of an intuitive insight, or in the form of a koan, or in the form of a appearance of something which you cannot make sense of. But you have to conclude that it is true. Just like it is true that you are witnessing all of this, and yet you cannot see the witness, and still you call it I. Cannot make sense of it, and yet it is true. You see? So now what are you going to do with this? What are you going to do with this? Is it not true that it is you that is witnessing? And yet you cannot know how you know, because it is beyond the knowable. So you can say it is intuitive. Now make sense of it. Make sense of it. You cannot make sense of it. You will at best try to deny it or distract yourself with some other worldly thing. But don't run. Don't run. Face yourself as this. Meet yourself as this. Do you see yourself beyond sight? You see yourself or no? Not perceptually. But you find yourself as the ever-present witnessing, which has no color, it has no shape, it has no objective quality whatsoever. This is the I that you are finding. Is that reasonable, sensible? It's not. So the mind, when faced with this, will try to include this into your lifestyle and say, oh, now that I found this, do I have an enlightened life? Do I have a stress-free life? Who are you talking about? Not the one you just discovered. Is it? Who are you talking about? All in an attempt to make sense out of that which is unsensible. So does that mean I leave my life? Yes. Yes. Inwardly. You have to die to yourself or die to the false self. Because you cannot juggle. You cannot even handle one universe. How will you handle two? You want to handle the unknowable universe and the knowable one? You cannot handle it. We'll see. So now is the time to pick. Now is the time to pick. Will you go with what you are finding and yet cannot make sense of? Or do you want to return to your sensible life? Both you cannot do, and I'm telling you, if you plan to waste time trying to do both, then take my advice, don't waste that time. Both you cannot do. Your alignment, your loyalty, your heart cannot be split, and it is that splitting which is the oscillation, the 40 days and 40 nights, which I'm trying to avoid for all of you. If you try to include the world into your insight, it won't happen, and if you try to include your insight into the world, it won't happen. And this is not the time to say, I am not the doer, I cannot do, you have to do for me. No, you pick. Because it is not you personally who is coming here, it is you as consciousness itself. See?
Yeah. You said that during the worldly times, when in the activities, we try to, normally when we say that I'm aware of self, sometimes while I'm talking to you or doing some work, the self is present, but do you mean to say that awareness also should be present on that?
Yeah. So firstly, understand that attention can never go to self. You see, attention can only go to an object. Attention can only go to the perceivable. So when I ask you if you are aware now, is your attention on the self?
No.
With what tool did you find that you are this awareness?
It is. It is. I don't have any answers for that.
It is just, and because this, just like that, or just it is, you see, we have a nice term for that called intuitive.
Yeah.
It is just known intuitively. You see, it doesn't mean anything. It is just that, just like that doesn't sound good. So we say intuitive. Huh? So intuitively it is known. Now, this intuitive insight, independent of attention or thought, you see, can happen only with grace. You see, because if there is no tool you can use to get to it, then if it is happening, then we can say it is only happening due to grace. It's not even using my attention. You see? So grace has happened. Now you have found that you are aware. Now, does the movement of your attention make a difference to this insight?
No, it actually feels paradoxical because I'm attending to myself. So it is the self who is attending to this self. It doesn't make, because somebody has to.
Firstly, if it doesn't make sense, we are getting somewhere.
Yeah.
The paradox is what we are aiming for. So paradox is important, right? Now, you're right. That, but who is coming to this insight? Isn't it? That's what you're saying. But self, you see. So that is the paradox which you cannot resolve, and yet it is the most important insight you will have in this world. You see. Now your question is that if I am operating in the world, then how do I retain this? Because it seems to go away. And you're absolutely right, it seems to go away, but it goes away only on one condition. And only in that condition alone. And that condition is nothing to do with what is appearing in front of you.
What is that?
You see? That condition is nothing to do with what is appearing in front of you. It is only dependent on whether you are believing the content of your thought. So without being hypnotized by the thought, see if that knowledge can go away. That apparency of self-knowledge, which I've been calling it recently, see if it can go away. Stare at any object you like, even stare at a thought if you like, and see if it can go away.
So there is a detachment that you are, should I understand that way?
No. Don't add anything to what I'm saying.
Okay.
Yeah? I'm saying that if all your brothers and sisters in this room started having the experience that that child is having, they all went ha 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 all the time, like that, even then, unless you buy a thought about yourself, the insight into yourself would not go away. See if you can shake it with your attention. See if self-knowledge or the apparency of self-knowledge can be shaken with your attention or the objects in your perception.
Then how would you operate that?
Without the hypnosis of a thought, in the apparency of self-knowledge, where your intuition is present. Okay, so I'm going to say something circular to you, which is very important. You found yourself in response to a question, are you aware now? That you are aware became apparent. We said that that is intuition. We said that that is intuition, and through no other mean can you find yourself except through this intuitive insight. You see? Now I'm introducing you to the good news, that intuition where you know yourself, you also know every single thing. In that intuition where yourself is known, because there is actually nothing other than the self. There is nothing that is left unknown. You see? So you can live intuitively or headlessly in this way. You see, so this is the beautiful thing, that in this satsang, we can say, because myself is apparent to me, I know I'm being intuitive. And therefore, as we get through life, as long as our self is apparent to us, we are just being intuitive. Just like the sharing of this satsang right now. Because my self is apparent to me, my being is also palpable. I'm being intuitive. I'm not having to think about these words. In the same way, all our life can be lived. All it needs is a sliver of faith. The sliver and the mountain is the same. where you're willing to let go of every attachment, because your mind will come and say, if you live in this way, the way of the heart, in God's way, then how do you know you won't just become a wandering beggar? So you must trust that and say, for truth, wandering beggar is okay. How do you know that your family won't hate you? For truth, if my family hates me, it's okay. So faith gives you the strength to not fall for mental distractions. Because all it can offer to you is things from the world. You have found the otherworldly. You have found the out of the universe. So then, in the moment of self-discovery, you also found a tool as to how to spend the rest of your life in faith. Because continue to live there where your self was found. Continue to live there, and that is to live in the unborn, in the notionless existence, in the open and empty. But if you say, oh, but practical life, I have to go to the mind, in the relative world, then I have to use relative things. This is okay for absolutism, and this is okay for satsang. If you divide yourself up in this way, then division, duality is suffering. If there were two intelligences on offer, you see, would you trust the intelligence which knows who you are, or the intelligence which has no idea about who you are, only speculates? The only trade-off is trusting a complete unfamiliarity, a completely new way of life versus a familiar way of life. It's a trade-off, because you don't know where your heart will lead you next moment. Are you up for that or no? You see, or like in Papaji's terms, have you tied already yourself to a rope from the outside so that you don't lose your way here, according to the reverse idea of the mind? Don't go too far in satsang so that you may get lost. Because the heart, your mind cannot control. Your heart, your mind cannot know. And the heart is just this intuitive presence. I'm not talking about any emotional heart or any physical heart. This intuitive presence, the Sadguru presence within you, which forms the bridge between the universe where nothing is conceptually known, but the universe of the truth, and the bridge between that and this world of just perception where nothing is reality. You see, that is your intuitive presence, your Sadguru presence. How much are you willing to risk on this discovery which you are having? Say.
Means all that practical thinking, everything is gone.
Everything is gone. No. Yeah. If you thought you were a cat and you had a lot of brilliant, you had collected a lot of great cat ideas all your life, and one day you saw there is no cat, what will you do with the cat thinking? Is there then a practical cat life if there is no cat? No. So what to do with the thinking which is about the non-existent one?
There are situations in our life which we have to...
Which intuition or God cannot handle. Is it like that? that I have to do. If we were so good at handling those situations, I guarantee you we would not be here anyway. If we were good at handling those situations from the tools at our disposal, which is the mind and perception, then why come to Satsang? And most of humanity still has hope from those tools, and that's why they don't come to Satsang like this, which is fair, which is fine. But if you are here over and over, you already recognize that those tools are not serving you well. You don't know how to run your life. You don't know what you're doing in life. You don't know how to run your life. You don't know how to plan your life. You don't know how your life will end, how it started. You don't know. And only in this admitting have you come to Satsang. Although you may not admit so blatantly. If we can meet this, then we return to the innocence of a child. That's all that's being asked for actually. Return to the non-judgmental, non-interpretive state, which is your childhood. And now, it may seem like life is more difficult and not easier. Because it may feel like both the voices are available to me. And it may feel like I have to pick. You hear the call of the mind and you hear the call of the heart. The call of the mind is saying, come back, all that stuff is some voodoo business. Don't go there. What is the guarantee you'll be fine? And the voice of the heart is just calling you in love. Just calling you in love. The love of non-separation. The love of truth, the love of oneness. Now what is going to win is up to you. But I would implore you to save yourself. I would implore you to save yourself from the false judgment and interpretation of the mind, because it's fully meaningless. And save yourself moment to moment, moment to moment, moment to moment. And this moment to moment, the way I said it, I hear it sounds like such a difficult lifetime project. But actually it's a sign of reassurance that you only have to do it now. You see, the world of time and the world of eternity can only collide right now. You see? They are not walking in lockstep. They are intersecting, and they are intersecting right now. You have got the point of intersection. Now, which universe will you continue to live in? Will you go back to the universe of false knowledge, of ignorance? Or will you take this switch lines, like in the London subway? Switch lines, get off at this station and switch lines right now to the world of your heart, to the way of your heart. but you have to leave your baggage in the old train. For the love of the new train, what baggage can you not leave in the old train? Because this is exactly the stuff the mind will tempt you with and say, come, 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 enough, 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 balance, balance. Don't go too far. You see? So you miss the intersection. You see? And then the mind has won that round by allowing you, by getting you to postpone. You see? So, and that is why recently I've been starting to say that this battle is only about one thing, it is about time. Yeah? It's only about time. And soon this life will be up. Who will be taking a victory lap? That is up to you. Who will take the victory lap at that point? Mind or heart? That is up to you. You cannot escape this. This you cannot even say to the Guru and say, you do this for me. Because consciousness cannot take away the power of consciousness. Even consciousness cannot do that. The alarm clocks can ring all over the dream. But you have to wake up. You have to let go of the dream. So do you want to be the one where the mind says, well played, but next time? You came close. But next time. Because it won the battle for time. It doesn't need to win your heart actually. It just has to win your time. And what is the way in which it cannot win? Hand over everything to God. There is no guarantee that your life will not go well. There is no guarantee that your life will not go well. Just like there is no guarantee that it will. That much risk we have to take. And what is up to sacrifice? Only our idea about how life should be. No? Well or not well is not some universal presentation. You see? Because some say to live a life in utter poverty is the best life. Some want a Janaka style enlightenment. But nobody can universally say that this is best. So well or not well is very, very up to what belief systems you carry. But a handed over life is not a guarantee of making your mind's desires come true. Although most of us approach surrender in that way. Yeah. With effort I could not make it. Now let me try with surrender. That is not the approach. Truly surrender. what is going to happen?
Would that be joyful?
Huh? Could be, but there is no guarantee either way. Love God more than joy. What are you willing to give up if you say no joy there? Then don't want God?
Is it like is it that the truth will unravel to us as a part of our destiny, our soul coming here?
No, there's no destiny.
So there's nothing like that. So is it something that we choose?
No, it's pure grace. What is grace? Unexplainable. It's an unexplainable gift. And that's how we started Satsang by saying the best we can do is prepare the table for the guest. Whether the guest comes or not is not up to us. Sounds like a crazy life as I'm hearing the words also. You have to be willing to be that crazy. I prepare the table every moment for God's arrival. But whether I behold God, whether I find God, I have no tools to predict.
But what state it would be? I know I'm asking a
It's okay,
stateful
it's
question,
okay.
but
What state?
like you said, it's like the notion of events turning out and your prediction and expectation to it and how they turn out. That's the thing that we I don't know what's gonna happen.
Yes,
It's the pure
that is to live a life of the head, not a life of faith.
Then what faith it is?
Faith is to surrender fully to that which we cannot understand.
Understood.
If it could be understood, then it would not need faith, then it would just be rational. And we've tried the way of rationality. We've tried the way of rationality. Now risk it on stupidity. If it seems like stupidity, risk it. You tried the rational way. Become fully crazy, silly. There is no riskless faith. That is rationality in the garb of faith. All of us have a notion of a miserable life. Notion of a miserable life. Outwardly speaking. You may say any life which is spent in the presence of God inwardly cannot be miserable. That's fine, inwardly. Now we just become, let's become like pre-satsang. Say we have an idea of a miserable life outwardly. Maybe it is no money, no friend, no relationship, unhealthy body, whatever it is. Suppose I said to you that to remain in the presence of God, outwardly you will have to live that miserable life. What will you pick? Suppose it was guaranteed that that is exactly how it plays out. Then what would you pick? You see? That puts it in context, no? It takes away from the airy-fairy feel-good spirituality of the New Age. Who is this about?
be able to describe your experience as misery
Yeah.
if you were in God.
Suppose you were.
Okay.
Suppose you could not escape that. You see, where you would have to put it in a narrative. Even then, what would you pick? Suppose you could do the impossible task of being in God and yet describe life as miserable because of the external circumstances of it. Then what would you pick? Was it too reassuring to say, right? I didn't want to reassure. That makes it comfortable.
When you're with God.
Yeah, no, I've made it too easy. I have to find some other poke. Because the minute I say it is an impossible task, then you're reassured. I'll have God, then no.
It's coming there only.
Exactly. I realized what happened. Everybody became a lot more relieved suddenly.
That means we cut off the whole world into a search for God to really dwell in Him. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Cut off inwardly. तुमसे हो जोड़ी अवर संग तोड़ी. This one, no? Tumse is God. Avar is the world.
If I may go back to your picture of the table waiting for the invited God, there is still mind asking like a child maybe, who will come, how does it look, does he look like, what will we eat, and how to...
You have no way to answer that.
Yes.
There's no way to answer that.
But letting this go.
Yes, exactly.
Because faith is there, that it will be mind asking time to understand what mind itself knows that it never will be able to understand.
Exactly. All of these uncomfortable inquiries that I'm placing before you are to really correct the agenda of spirituality in some way. Correct the agenda of spirituality. Did you ever hear Shankara say, oh, if you become spiritual, you'll have a peaceful, blissful life? So not for that. Have any of the lives of the sages or avatars really shown us that? Have they really come here to show us their bliss and their splendor in their worldly life? It may happen as a byproduct. But really, what is the message? The message is to forget about you. Because the lane is too narrow. Rahimji said, the lane is too narrow. If there is me, there cannot be God. And if there is God, there cannot be me. What is that a provocation for? It is a provocation for you to pick. It's not just some airy-fairy statement, oh nice, if there's God, there's no me, It's really putting the context of spirituality right in front of you. What do you want? Do you want the better me? Or you want God? Or you want me to become better because of God? Better life, better experiences, more bliss, more joy. For me. Don't fall for that kind of spirituality. It's not spirituality at all. It is materialism in the disguise of spirituality. Selling candy in the garb of God. If there can be God or me in this lane, it is not the betterment and betterment, the constant betterment of this non-existent me that will bring me to God. It is only the letting go of it. So, the no journey is immediate. The intersection of the universe of the heart and the head is right now. Which line are you going to pick? Everything you write about is on the old line. All your spiritual experiences also on the old line. Spiritual ideas in the old line. Everything that you are attached to is on the old line. Are you ready to jump trains?
What we need to do this?
Huh?
Do we need that love, that craziness for self? What is it that we need?
Suppose everything that you needed was already with you. And I'm saying, come. I'm calling you from the new line. Come. You see? Would you come? It's not an experience. It's not an experience. It is not a happening. Because all of happening, event, experience, all of that is in the world of linear time. I'm pulling you out of all of that into a non-linearity. There's the world of your being, the world of God, and there's a world that is conjured up by your head. The world conjured up by your head has time, it has space, it has objects. The world of God, the world of your heart, the world of the Sadguru presence is unfathomable to your mind. You cannot even say it is timeless or eternal. It is way beyond anything that we can understand. How to live in this world of the heart. moment to moment, allow yourselves to act directly from the presence, which means through no mental intervention. And if you're convinced that you need some intervention or guidance, then allow the heart to guide you. Until then, trust the silence. It's a very simple way of life. You don't have to work hard, you don't have to think about things. Just moment to moment. Your Sadguru presence itself is guiding the universe. But if there are moments where you're convinced that something is needed, some advice, some guidance, what to do, then wait for that before rushing to the mind. That is to live in the heart. That is to live in God's will.
I don't know if it's kind of avoidance, but it seems like a comfort that it's only about resisting the voice of the mind moment to moment. It takes away this big images of worst case scenarios and what happens then and where.
Yes.
Because if I said to myself, it's just always this moment.
Yes.
I have to resist. This voice.
Exactly.
Then it somehow it becomes some
Yes.
uneasiness.
Yes, and it's even more reassuring because we could have done anything. In the past, we could have been full of mind, full of arrogance, full of pride. But this moment, we got on the heart train. You see? But remember that this offer expires now.
Yes.
Because you cannot hold it for tomorrow and say, that means I can do whatever I want. And then, when it's close to the end of my life, I'll just come to my heart. No. The offer is fully available, but it expires now. You cannot do it tomorrow. See? So it's a great reassurance, but not an avoidance. Which is a rare thing. In this world. It's a great reassurance, but doesn't give you the possibility to escape because best before now. When is the offer valid till? Now. Best by date is now. So it doesn't matter what you've done in the past, what your history is like. Nothing. Now. But you cannot hold on to this offer till tomorrow. You cannot say, okay, today is my last day of enjoyment. Let me just do that. Because where is my heart going? It's going to be here. No. Like Narad in the story. You may forget for your whole lifetime.
When you said that you lay the table but you're unsure whether the guests will
Yes.
that's a bummer actually because
It's a
actually, because I checked and it was like disappointing honestly.
Yes.
I mean I have to be honest, I have to ask.
Yes, it's very good. It's meant to be.
Yeah.
That's why I said. But you're still in it. You're still in it.
Guruji, this mind will never agree to jump that line.
Mind doesn't have to. You have to.
Yes. And if you are ready to jump, it should be in that spontaneous moment out of love.
Mind cannot understand.
Just out of some sheer love. You
Mind
just jump.
cannot understand. What is the attempt in the question? To understand. Can't do it. You can only jump.
Mind is just not ready to jump.
Mind cannot jump. Mind is a bundle of thoughts. Thoughts can't jump. You can jump. jump without moving your body. With no guarantees. Fully open, no left, no right, no up, no down. No yesterday, no tomorrow, no right now.
Mind cannot sense that craving also.
Mind cannot?
Cannot sense that craving or
What do you mean by craving?
For something unknown. But that craving is there.
It senses it, no? And that's why it starts attacking even more.
Why should it do that?
Because that's his design. And this one is going, it's gone. This passenger is leaving my train. So it's designed to try and shut the doors on you as much as possible. You see? Because not only does it want your attention and belief, it wants dominance, complete dominance. It's not happy with just like, okay, now, like a little pet, I'll give you some attention, you see, feed you once or twice a day. No, it wants to own you. It wants to own your lives. It is designed to try and take away the master and become the new master of your life.
But the jump is to
Cannot be
know
understood.
the God, right? I mean, the jump you will
Cannot be understood.
Okay. But, okay, so let me ask the doubt actually. So you will have all troubles throughout your all experiences, life, all kind of the all prediction errors, expectation errors, and sorrow because of the belief systems. Ultimately, you will find a way that, for example, I mean, spirituality, come to the spirituality, and then it will try to modulate us in a way that at least, even though that happens, you'll be happy even in that cases. Correct.
That's not what the project is only.
I'm telling you about that's been sold like that.
Yeah, that's the false selling.
Versus a jump that you're asking,
Yes.
right? But
One is a noble path, 30 steps to happiness. Yeah. One is jump. What will happen? No idea. How to jump? No idea. Where to jump?
But the cause
No
of jump,
idea.
the
Cause
reason
to jump?
reason
No
for
idea.
jump.
Reason? No idea.
No, but then you're asking for the jump for some cause.
No.
And just jump?
Unreasonable. Completely unreasonable request.
I'm sorry.
My request for you to jump is completely unreasonable.
Understand. I understand is unreasonable.
That's the problem.
I mean, sorry, I'm not getting it. You asked me to jump to know God.
No.
I will prepare a feast without any expectations whether
Yeah.
God is going to come or not.
Yeah.
And still I'm preparing it out of faith. So it's ultimately jump of a faith. Right? Jump with faith.
Yeah.
Then
And
I
if
will
I say
find God.
at the end of the jump, you don't know who's got you in their hands.
Correct. Yeah. But ultimately, what is the grace wants me to jump for? No mindness?
No. What else do you have besides your ability to understand?
I mean,
Look, really look. I deeply invite you to look. So your ability to understand, or your need to understand, or your intellect, whatever, has all these questions. What else do you have in your being?
The speed.
What is bigger? What is vaster? What is truer? Are you willing to live there for me? Are you willing to live where you don't understand for me?
Just like a child.
Yeah. This is the return to the innocence. Just like a child.
Guruji, so the project is two things. One is open and empty, and then jump.
Jump into the open and empty.
Sometimes it is so easy, Ananta-ji.
Yeah.
Feel like, oh, this is like so obvious. This is you, how, what else can you be? Like,
Yeah.
This is what you are.
Yeah.
And sometimes the ego is so strong.
Yeah.
Sometimes it comes and you're like, okay, maybe it takes its time. Okay, this is how it should be.
Yeah. Sometimes this seems airy-fairy and sometimes that seems airy-fairy. No?
Yeah.
It's like when you come to satsang, you feel like, I want to come to every satsang. No? Then when you're back in the world, you feel like, I'll go next week. I have too much on my plate. Really, it can feel like that. So it just, it's a sort of acclimatization. That's why I want to get you every time you come. It's like, oh, you're here.
So now when that ego arises, feels more like a comedy show I started.
There you go. I used to say this, I don't know if you ever heard this, that when you start recognizing the words of the mind like a stand-up comedian or something like that, then it's losing its fangs. The same vicious voice, which used to be so strong, judgmental, I am right, you are wrong, see how you are and how I am. Even the other way around. Guilt and regret and remorse. The same one has become a comedian now. Beautiful. Because you start to see that the protagonist doesn't exist. That's when it becomes a comedy. If you still took yourself to be the protagonist, then it would not seem comedic. Because what it's saying is not comedy. But because you recognize it's talking about air, like space. So you just... The mind comes and says, "You did so well, you're amazing." You just laugh. What? Who is that? So one of the subtle tricks of the mind is that it will get you to settle for a but still. You know? Like, yeah, but still, yeah. I have one child who constantly does that. She comes to pure insight very quickly because her heart is full of openness actually. But her mind still gets very attracted to, but still. I know I have to trust fully, but still. I know I can only do this now, but still. It seems very harmless and humble, and but still. So beware of that mind tactic which comes in the guise of that requester and say, but still.
When you are beaten up left, right, center by the mind and you're cornered, right? You know, like literally not happy with the so-called this life.
Yes.
Isn't it easy to turn inward?
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. So I have to grab you in those moments.
Huh.
Otherwise, you still feel like you have a chance with the mind. You can still win. But when you feel like, come.
But
And that's why most who come to Satsang actually have come like pre-bajao.
And also,
Pre-cooked.
this pain is not mandatory, right? This cooking is not mandatory, right? To experience this.
Well, if it worked for you, then it worked for you. We don't have to make a rule.
Got it.
The tendency, I mean, it's a function of time to lose this insight. That
Say again, tendency is?
it's a function of tendency in time that you lose this insight. Because around this time.
So we saw that the only way to lose it apparently is to believe a thought.
But it still happens. It still
Yeah.
happens.
Yeah.
The-
Because you want it.
No, I don't want it.
Yes.
Probably I don't know that.
Yeah, I'm telling you.
But I know this, I want this too.
Yes, and that is what's
Very-
causing the push-pull. That's where, that's why I keep saying surrender, 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 because the mind can only invite you with things that you want.
Okay. So
If it said to you, I have a ticket to Ranchi, you want Ranchi? If you, what's your favorite destination or hometown or something, whatever, it offers you that. You say, yeah, well, of course. No charge. Are you sure? No charge. Yeah. You see? So it uses your want to pull you in. What is the other way it can do?
I was coming to the conditioning part of that. Is that a conditioning that we're talking
Yes.
about?
Yes.
So the conditioning took so many lifetimes.
No.
Okay, probably wrong motion there. So the conditioning was in one moment.
There, why you want to understand? There is no time actually.
Okay.
I'm introducing you to the timeless world of God. You're coming to the new train, you don't have to count how many boxes did my old train have? How did they get created? You know, how many of those lifetimes have I lived in the old train? Don't need to know. Come. We feel like our greater understanding will help us surrender better. But a child is not like that. A child lost their innocence with the understanding. Understood? Still in the wrong playground.
No.
Come back to where you were.
I went to.
What else do you have besides your ability to understand?
Just me.
No, now you made an understanding out of it. See the difference? I'm not picking on
No,
you.
no,
I'm
I
just
know,
saying
I
that
know.
I'm just saying that the first time the second time was reliant on the previous experience and the interpretation of it, which is just me, yeah, I know. Still in the realm of knowledge again. That's why the master has to keep finding new pointing, because the minute you start including it into your understanding, then it loses its potency. We feel like it is covered ground. Now we've understood this, now next. We feel like it is covered ground. It is not. You see, because you jump out of the timeful into the timeless. Like many kids say, no, after a point, I'm actually done with the inquiry. Done with inquiry. I have found. So what? It's like a punishment to inquire into who you really are and to come to the darshan of the timeless reality that you are. It's a gift or a punishment. So what if you had that experience 3 weeks ago? Because our mind works on linear progress. I am starting to realize every day that what I was first told in spirituality was more than enough. I will need to understand much more. Because the spiritual understanding then takes the shape of the identity. Because for like advanced Advaitins or something, it can sound like if somebody comes and says, "Oh, my spiritual practice is I just sit by myself at peace for like 20 minutes every day." You don't do inquiry? No? We feel like we have some progress, better sort of thing. We can't judge that. There's rarely anyone in this world who can sit without troubling yourself for themselves for 20 minutes. Okay. So, how to live in caves? How to live in faith? I've said many times now, so I'm actually expecting an answer. It's not rhetoric.
Expectations.
Expectation.
You just jump, surrender.
So, usually when this kind of prodding is there, first you can ask yourself, what do I want? What do I want? Be fully honest with yourselves. And whatever pointer, whatever spirituality, whatever you have learned, use it to let go of that. Return to the openness. Return to your heart. This is the sacrifice of individual will. And the sacrifice of individual will is the sacrifice of the individual. Because there is no individual without will. Yeah. The sacrifice of the individual will is the same as the sacrifice of the individual. Because there is no individual without will. How to know that you are being personal? Ask yourself what you want. Even if you want nothing, it is still what you want. Okay, but if that's confusing, leave it for later. It's okay. Then let that go, either through inquiry, surrender, open, empty, are you aware now, whatever. All the tools are in your arsenal now. Use them. Mostly in this openness, everything is unfolding naturally. But there will be some conditions, as you said, which will come and say, but this you have to decide. So even with that, when you believe that this, some decision, some action has to be taken, don't go to the head for that. Trust your heart. Let presence itself direct the action directly or guide you. Just live like this. If it feels like you have to do this over and over, do it. Because every time you snap out of your individual desire, individual will, you have changed your track. You boarded God's train. Every time you go with yourself being right, you boarded the ego train. Even now, you may say, what do I want? I want freedom. I want freedom. Drop it. Return to emptiness. Return to your heart. Live here. Live open and empty. Your presence itself is directing your life. It is in fact directing the universe. Allow presence to do that. Outsource everything to presence. In the outsourcing city anyway. So outsource everything to your presence. And just be careful of being rushed. That's all. Don't get rushed because that is your mind's tactic. Hey, there's no time. Come. There's always time. Time is in service to your presence, not the other way around. That is the only way you will save time. By picking God moment to moment. Picking God is only done through emptying yourself. To let go of your will is to pick God. I don't want this to be confused with like, no, I pick God. Because then that is what you want. So let go of that also. It may be a prompt, which is okay. I want to pick God. It's a prompt. It is different. So when you say, empty.
Guruji, so any innocent sounding want like peace, mind to stop mind try those are
Yes.
Yeah.
All the spiritual want, don't want. Only want what God wants. What will you do when you follow your head? Will you follow it more with guilt? No. Stop there. Retreat to your heart. That's all. This simplicity, if you can meet, just this simplicity. How do you know your heart is guiding you? Because your self is apparent to you. This is a bazooka thing, no? It's a bazooka thing. Who can say that? We are so blessed that we have the capacity to even say something like that. How do I know I'm not being fooled? Because my self is apparent to me, and where my self is apparent to me is only intuition. And if some of you feel like the self is not as apparent or whatever, then at least keep your being palpable. The presence of your being for all of you is quite straightforward now. So even then you could not be fooling yourself. Simple return to innocence. little push-pull will happen, which is natural, it's okay. But okay, one more trick of the mind is that if not, there's no time, then is that it's too boring. It's too boring. For example, you may not know what you want for lunch. Okay? You may not know what you want for lunch. Even then, you don't have to follow the mind. The mind will say, come, it's lunch. Come. Like your friends inviting you to have one cigarette. Come. The presence is doing it. No? You don't have to wait for like an audible guidance or a conceptualizable guidance every time. Your presence is doing it. Your presence is not unable to run this life. But don't go to your head even for lunch. And if you go to your head for lunch, then don't go to it for dinner. But don't beat yourself up saying, I went for lunch. Nothing is too small or too big for God. This is the subtle way to insert these categories of practical and spiritual. And if you still can't decide even presence is just like that, then you leave it to those who love you. That's what I do mostly in Sangha also. What are we doing, Father? I don't know, you tell me. Isn't it mostly like that? You tell. No, you tell. No, you tell. It's okay, it all works out fine. Because it doesn't matter how it works out. It only matters whether you pick God or no. Or to be more precise, didn't pick the head or no. That is a life of surrender, a life of faith. Mind is screaming? No. But lunch at least I can decide. Can't. Yesterday morning I woke up, I had no feeling that I'm going to go to the office. Suddenly it just came to me, go to office. I was like, okay. There was no driver, nothing. I got into auto, went to office. And there I met somebody from, not that it okay, this part you don't have to take it seriously. But there I met Yashoda. You remember some of you, Yashoda? Yashoda came a few years back and she follows Guruji and things, but kid, and her husband Prasad. I don't know, Prasad and Yashoda, both of them used to come. They're the ones I always remembered because they used to go to one Swamiji on Banagata Road. And they said that if Swamiji doesn't like what we say to him, he slaps us tight. Quite, because this was those days, like 7-8 years ago. So she came for a meeting with Garima. And she's like, oh. I'm like, oh. So, but I think this part is not the important part of the story. That you, because it called me so that I could, no, that it called me so God. If the outcome was the opposite, where I met somebody who's just like, took all the energy out of this body. Okay, that's also okay. It's possible to live like this. So the tip I have is that, of course, whatever is showing up, and this is thanks to Claudia actually, Claudia or Jyotima, both of them, where we used to, of course, saying that whatever appears in our perception is the Master's grace, and it is the Master's grace, you see. So it gives us great acceptance of what is appearing. You see? But the higher will of God, you hear in your God presence itself. So trust that much more or unwaveringly. And then don't go with the mind saying, but your life is showing you something else. No, God is saying. This is the only doorway to miracles. Only doorway to miracles, but not of the kind that we may expect. It is this true life that will seem the most absurd initially. This invitation may seem absurd to you initially. Actually, it is our current mind way of life. It is absurd. What better life than to be guided by God? Your Advaita mind will say, what? Guided by God? No, I want to be. What, aren't I one with God? You are only if you're guided by God. You have to serve up your ego, serve up your head on a plate first. Unity with God is a product of our complete submission to God, not the other way around. The submission is not a result of your unity. Come to a point of complete submission, surrender fully. You already find that you are one with God. What is the submission in that? What is the surrender in that? So don't wait to surrender till you find, actually I'm one with God. Anyway, for most of you, what I'm saying is post insight. No? Anyway, for most of you, it is post insight. You do not have the excuse to say, oh no, but I'm waiting for an awakening to recognize what I really am. Then I can really surrender. In a simple inquiry, in a moment, you discover that. Now to refuse to give up on the false, it's unacceptable. So for most of us, it's the cat story. What is the cat story? You see no cat in the mirror when we check. We We've checked now hundreds of times. No cat. Still, what about the cat? So surrender the cat. Cat's voice will call you. This. Balance it out. Balance it. Can't balance. If there is some fear, it is fine. That fear is fine. That's why I didn't want to remove that bit of tension from that situation. But God's will was something else. That very shell shocked today. All. Is it intimidating, the project I've laid out?
Can I say something?
Yeah.
You're relentlessly butchering the mind.
Relentlessly butchering the mind. Thank you.
And you're giving, you're saying so many things, like jump, you come naked and
Open,
without
jump,
clothes and-
do this also.
I mean, like,
Surrender.
it's okay, it's nice. Come naked, alright. Nakedness is fantastic because that's, that's what you are in the heart, very naked. And you say it's sacrifice.
No, but I'm saying clothes also.
But I say it's a curse.
I'm not saying that yet, but I said,
I
what
say-
if I did?
I say it's a curse not to be in the heart. It's a non-blessed life.
Yes, exactly.
It's absolutely cursed. You're coming and sitting in satsang and you don't sit in the heart and you're still in the mind and playing games, ego games. It's just horrible.
Exactly.
Surrender. The head is surrendered, chopped, surrendered, kept at the feet of the master all the time. What he wants to do with it, he can do with it.
Very good.
Not a sacrifice.
Very good.
The Creator's honor, pleasure, blessing.
Very good.
The greatest gift of humankind.
Actually, to provoke us, often I have said that humans shouldn't really be so arrogant and proud because plants and animals are freer than us. They're not oppressed by the mind. The only thing that I feel brings us to some equality with nature is our ability to utter God. That we can invoke the greatest, we can't even say being, but the greatest. Give some reassurance about the human condition. that this intersection is possible through grace, that which is beyond this universe reaches into this and reminds us of its reality. Is love beyond any understanding? What greater love can there be? Where time and space become immaterial. Before we can become one with Ram, we have to become Hanuman. Follow, 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 follow. Whether you are asked to jump over the sea, or lift a mountain, or pick your lunch, just follow. Follow God in your heart fully. And have faith in the most irrational, unbelievable things, which point to the highest. Okay, no, not conspiracy theories type stuff. Have faith. So have faith that when Hanuman opened his heart, Ram and Sita were seen. To the mind, it sounds like complete bunkum. But you can have faith that it is true. So have faith in these testimonies which point you to the highest truths. Although you can never understand them, and the mind will constantly want to rationalize them and say, oh, it is metaphorical, it is like that, it is representative of nothing. Hanumanji opened his heart and Ram and Sita were there. Where you don't have a problem with that, stay there. Jesus was put up on the cross. After 3 days, he was born again. Where you don't have a problem with that, stay there. what is it? Relentlessly butchering the mind. That only is my job.
You're choking the ego.
Choking the ego.
Right choice of words.
It's so slippery. Try to choke it, slips away. I am out of words. Anything? Anyone wants to say anything? Somebody was saying something?
Yeah, I was just saying that, it just, I think the grace and
Well,
with grace and your guidance, and we're beginning to recognize, living for the one that's truly makes everything happen. Makes everything possible. Makes all experiencing possible.
exactly.
So all surrender to the one, the only true one.
हुक्म रजाई चलना नानक लिखिया नाम. You know this Punjabi?
I should.
You tell me.
I should as well.
Just live in the hukum of God, which is the will of God. Because hukum actually is not, it's like command, like will. So be obedient to the will of God. That is what Nanak wrote. At the crux of it. It's a beautiful few lines which I keep repeating almost every satsang. Not by thinking, not by sitting in silence, not by immersing in love, not by materialistic desires, not by fulfilling hunger. None of those things is it possible to come to truth. How will the illusion get unveiled, the unveiling of the false into the truth happen? Only by following God's will. And it's beautiful that in a few lines is captured the human condition and every tactic that we have to think, to immerse ourselves in some enjoyment, even a spiritual enjoyment. Not possible.
I mean, we're surrendering to the one who makes even surrender possible. Everything, I mean, all the senses, the capacity to understand what the word surrender means, it's all God. It's not through conscious will. So it's just, as you said, it's just peeling away the false.
This is the beauty of it. To surrender although we don't know how to surrender. To surrender is an act of grace, is an act of faith which we don't know how to do. And yet we surrender. It's like the jump.
we're just fortunate to be here.
Yes, I feel very fortunate as well that all of you come with such openness to hear all this absurdity.
And that which makes it possible is so miraculous.
Do you know what I'm saying? Faith. It's completely unreasonable to expect something like this can happen, and you're seeing it with your own eyes, you're recording it on YouTube. When the unknowable makes itself momentarily perceivable in this universe, it's a moment where really it awakens our faith so deeply. So it's very good where we get such a beautiful perception which we cannot explain, and then that deepens our faith. But we should use that experience to deepen without needing, have such deep faith that we don't need to see anything out of the ordinary also. So may these experiences also lead you to that depth of faith which is unshaken no matter what comes. So may we not need even outer miracles to stay with God's presence. But as long as they are appearing, then they are deepening your faith, which is very beautiful.